What's up? I'm Wes, and in this episode we're going to try to fix this piece of crap. Alright, a little bit about this car. This is a 1994 Mustang GT. I purchased it from a friend of mine whose boyfriend used to drive it, but he ended up passing away, and this was his car that he always wanted to fix up, and he never got around to it. So she sold me the car, and as you can see, it's kind of a mess. Most notably, it was wrecked about a week before the previous owner passed away. That's what all the damage on the front there is, and all the damage back there, which I didn't notice until I got it here. But let's go take a look around the car and see what we're going to be addressing. See that this is a replacement panel, although it looks like it needs to be replaced with the replacement panel. There's a little bit going on there. So all I can ascertain is there was some kind of stump. He hit it here and it went on down the side of the car. My main point of concern was the undercarriage, and it really looks like the only place they got it was just the corner of the radiator support there. So we're just going to bend that back out. It should be okay. Now, nothing on the front end of this car is lined up. It looks like a child with buck teeth. I'm not sure what's going on or what those bungee cords are supporting. I haven't gotten that far into it, but I did verify that the frame isn't bent. We took some measurements and everything looked good there. This rear quarter panel is kind of a mess. As you can see, the stump went here, went straight across and caught the back end, so we're gonna have to replace that whole back bumper cover. And then this, when the stump hit here, it actually pushed up. And if I come here, you can kind of see the wave right there. And on this side of the car, things are pretty much the same condition. That front panel looks pretty straight. However, this door has got some issues, so we're just gonna pull that door off, replace it with another one. This panel back here looks pretty original. However, down here, we got some problems. So it's right here on the sill. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pull that out and do the body work, or if I should just replace the whole panel. I'm thinking I'm going to try to do the bodywork first, and if it doesn't work, then we'll look at replacing the whole panel. The back looks pretty good. It's the best looking part of the car. However, the side of that bumper cover is, of course, damaged. The engine, aside from having a silly yellow cover on top, is actually pretty healthy. She roars, she starts up, she fires up. She's got a lot of torque. He's done some significant work to it. So as you saw, I couldn't really get the jack under the other side. Now I'm on the opposite side. However, what's really interesting is my buddy was hanging these fenders the morning that he passed away. And what I just found underneath here is a socket still on there. He came out, was doing some stuff to his car, you know, all the way up until the very end. He was working on his hot rod, and that's something kind of crazy. I mean, there's a socket still on here that he put on there, and just sort of makes me want to really do this car up right for him. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So now I know why it's on there. Got it. What is that? Ooh, it's a snap-on. 8mm. So when my buddy took it off the road and it hit something, you can actually see how this loops down. Maybe that's a little bit, yeah, you can actually see how that's bent. So this whole rack, rather than just replacing that one point, you know, I would feel better just replace the whole thing. And for, you know, the $100 it's gonna cost to get a remanufactured one, I think it's just worth it to kind of pull this one off and start over. So this is the driver's side, and you can see all this mess back here. This is actually power steering fluid that squirted out of the power steering rack. it back there somewhere. Kind of stuck in a very uncomfortable place. Well, that was easy. Hey, look at there. I didn't even have to use my favorite tool, the pickle fork. So I'm gonna take this off and put it on the end of the sway bar link for safekeeping. Ow. Ow. Hello. So this is the rack here, and I've got a selection of pry bars. There's nothing holding it in place, I don't think. I'm not really that familiar with Mustangs. I tried to stay away from them all my life, to be honest, but I don't think there's anything else holding that in place other than the line that's still in it. So I need to get it forward a little bit so I can get that last line off, and hopefully we pop it off. That's the core, so I have to take that one back to get the new one. And if I get this off, I think I'm gonna go in and drink a nice cold cream soda. Anyway. Oh, when you've been working on things for so long, you kind of just trying to get them done and get out of Dodge, but I've been beating on this thing for the last 20 minutes or so. Realized it was turned the nut the wrong way. That's why it wouldn't come off. Now that I'm turning it the other way, it's coming off a lot easier. We've all had those projects where we've been working on them so long, you just kind of get delirious. The day started off with retrieving this car on a flatbed trailer in the middle of July. It's warm. And on the way here, when the brake lines broke on the truck, on the tow truck, and so we spent 3 or 4 hours replacing that. And then I decided to come out here by myself and get this started, hoping that I could get this rack off tonight. And so we've been working on something for a long time, and you're tired. Then you start making stupid little mistakes, like trying to tighten something that you're trying to take off. Anyway, I'm gonna get these last 2 out. We're gonna be done, and we're gonna move on to the next thing. Yeah! I want the steering rack to die. A slow, painful death. You know, I think it may actually clean it up, spray paint it silver, and hang it on my wall as a trophy. That's how much I hate the steering rack. Now, I present to you a rack. So now that the rack's out of the car, you can see the extent of the damage. See how that side is straight? Well, that side is not. Looks like a big old banana. Got the new rack here. I got the power steering lines hooked up to it. It has these little nylon washers that I had to soak in hot water and then basically stretch out with my hands, pulling really hard to get around the threads. You're not supposed to use Teflon tape on the threads of the power steering rack. So they come with washers when you buy them new. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this guy mounted up in place, and hopefully we'll be driving sometime soon. These pins here are tapered on one side to make them easier to stick in. You go through these bushings right here and through the K member. Alright, so I've got the rack in, the bushing is through the rack, and then the spacer is going all the way back to there, and I've put a bolt through it. So next step is just put on the washer, put on the bolt, and after this I'll tighten it up, and we will hopefully be driving this thing sometime soon. Okay, so it's time to put on the tie rod in, and basically what I did to try to keep this as accurate as possible was I took the old tie rod end off the old rack and I counted how many turns it took to back it off. So when I put on the new tie rod end on the new rack, I'm going to turn this on the same number of turns and hopefully have something that's semi in the range of what I need to get it to the alignment shop. So that's 28 turns, which is what my original one was. Slide this up here and I try to work the end back into here. It looks somewhat straight. We're going to put some power steering fluid in and bleed the system. Basically, the method of doing that is pour the power steering fluid in, work the wheel all the way to the left, work the steering wheel all the way to the right, add some more, keep doing it until you get all the bubbles out. Now that the power steering pump is squared away, that marks the end of all the mechanical stuff we're going to do this car. It actually runs really nice. Now we have to turn our efforts towards the cosmetic part of the car. We're going to pull the front end off here, at least the hood anyway, probably the fenders as well, and see what we can find. Okay, now that we have a hood and some fenders on and they're sort of semi-lined up, we're going to take care of all the fine alignment in a little bit. But I'm super excited because I just got in the fourth and final wheel that we need to complete our wheel set. I found that on eBay for like 55 bucks. Took it down to the tire store, found a used tire to slap on it, and we're going to throw them on the car. That is the first time I have ever seen that Mustang with 4 matching rims and sitting on its own suspension. So that's sort of a nice rake. It's got 1-inch lowering in the front, 1-inch lower springs in the front. The back maybe an inch. They could be factory, I'm not sure. I'll have to go check. But it's got a nice rake to it, and once we get the front end lined up and get the body work done on the back, I think she's gonna look sweet. Okay, so one of the problems I was having with the original door on this Mustang, besides being all dented up, was that you actually had to pick it up to get it to latch when you closed it. And the problem is the hinge here, you can actually see the door pin is very loose. The bushing around the door pin has just bit the dust, for lack of better terms. Alright, I've learned a few things about door hardware today. I've replaced door hardware before, and it's usually straightforward. Should have been straightforward on this. However, this is a door pin for a 94 Mustang GT. This is a bushing for the door pin for a 94 Mustang GT. Guess what doesn't fit? The bushing. So what I had to do was, first I tried pressing them in with a press, and they kind of deformed so that you couldn't get the door pin in because then it was bulged and this wouldn't go in. I went through like 4 bushings that way and nothing really happened for me. So then I tried drilling out the bushings, but they just kept breaking because they were already stretched thin from being pressed in to the hinge. So what I ended up doing was just going back to the parts store, and I took the hinge with me that time to just or try to fit anything that was on the shelf. And what I found was this, which is from a 2002 to 94 Mercury Contour. And the kit comes with 4 of these. In that kit, only 2 of these were the right size, but it was enough to get my door hardware on. Check this out. So I'm refitting the front end for the last time, and what I have here is the place where the V8 emblem used to be, and you can see that little hole. There's my finger. Right here, I've sanded it down a little bit. I'm going to cut a piece of metal, put in there, and weld it from both sides, and then once we get to the painting stage, we'll finish it out with some Bondo. So behind me is a diesel truck pulling the parts Mustang that we're using for that one right over there. And it's going to live another life in motorsports. So we're sending that one off to a good home. Hello, how are you? It's the Mustang. We're in the garage. I don't know how much later this is from the previous shot, maybe a couple of months. I'm talking loud because I can't hear myself. But this is the part we pulled out. It moved all this closer to where it's supposed to be, but it's not quite lined up yet. We got some issues going on right here. So I've got this part here outlined, and I'm getting ready to cut it out. And we're gonna move some of that stuff over, and then we're gonna pull this out a little bit more, and hopefully that's all that needs to be done on this side. We got this piece cut out. So we got some boogers happening right there. It's like this used to get pulled back so that it's more in line with the door. Looks like over here you can kind of see the concaved part actually needs to be convexed, so we'll actually pull that out. So I've cut out this piece. I went ahead and used a pair of channel locks to put on here. I kind of bent everything I needed out. You can see that this line here now is a lot straighter, and instead of being concaved, this line is now convexed. And so then I took a piece of cardstock. It's actually some kind of manual cover that I just cut off, and I put this inside here like that, and reached in through the vent and held it up, and basically sized up a piece of metal that I'm gonna need. Should be somewhere in that size. Hey, I've cut out the piece of metal. As you can see, it's got a bit of an arc to it. Found this dolly. This came out of a Harbor Freight kit. It comes with like 5 or 6 dollies. I think it's $30 and comes with like 4 hammers. It's been indispensable on this project. But basically what I did is I went over on top of a stool and I formed this around it till it had a similar arc, and it's very near to exactly the arc that's on the quarter panel of the Mustang. After we welded the patch panel in place yesterday, we ground it down, and then I went back and filled in some of the holes. And then late last night I put on a coat of body filler. I just finished sanding it. And this is what the first coat looks like. You can see that you can see places that are high and some places that are low here. So this is going to require probably another 2 coats, and it's going to require to be sanded a few times. Once we do that, we'll primer it, and she'll be ready for paint. Hey, good morning. I honestly don't know how long it's been since the last time I shot any video on this car. You may see that my beard is quite a bit thicker than it was the last time you saw me. It's probably been like 6 months, maybe a little bit longer before I've actually done anything to this car. It is now the day after Memorial Day, 2017. Last time you saw the car, probably had all the fenders on. I've spent the last 3 days, not the last 3 days, but the evenings on my last few days after hanging out with the kids, stripping down the car. I've taken the front end off. Spent a lot of time getting the ground effects and the adhesive for the ground effects off. Took the rear valance off here. These sail panels were kind of fun and interesting to take off. Taking those off actually allowed me to get all the weather stripping off. And did the same thing on this side. As you can see, all the body work is pretty much finished. I got those dents taken out. I got some touch up I gotta do back here, and on the other side, took the spoiler off here, got all this stuff out of here. I still have to patch some holes where the Ford symbol was and then where the spoiler was. I just think these cars look silly with the spoiler and ground effects on. It just looks all lumpy. It seriously looks like an afterthought on these cars. I think without them, the cars look much more like a more modern GTO or something like that. But anyway, I've got it stripped. You can see the sander there. I'm getting ready to sand it, and this week is paint week. This week we are going to paint this car, and it's not going to be yellow, it's not going to be black, it's not going to be the purple that was on the hood or the green that was on the front. We're actually going with a Mopar color, so that should be pretty cool. So let's get to it. It's always important to be wearing the proper protection. My wife used this last week, sanding a door. It's a little tight.
You always want to use the protection for your ears. The ear protection. Protection for your ears. And now, you want to protect your eyes from the sanding dust. And then you look totally awesome like me. Oh, my glasses are fogging up. Wear gloves, kids. That's a big hunk of my finger that is missing. That sucks.
So there it is. You can see the line across the door where I actually had to feather out a key mark that someone had keyed that door back when it was on another Mustang. This part of the car took me about an hour to do. It's all the other parts that took me the rest of the day. So what you see here behind me in the driveway took me about 5 hours to do. Started about 8 o'clock this morning. I had that one done by about 9. Everything else took me until about 3 o'clock. But the good news is, it is all done. It's all wet sanded. It's ready to be painted. I'm gonna start taping up the windows after I pull it back into the garage. I'm gonna start taping up the windows, and then tomorrow we could shoot some color. There is the Mustang. It's been taped. It's been wet sanded. It is ready for paint. I'm getting ready to wipe it down with the tack cloth because it's been sitting here overnight. After I washed it yesterday, I let it sit overnight to dry pretty thoroughly. Back here I have the other pieces that have all been wet sanded, and they are all going to get painted. I'm in a weird predicament because the paint I'm using, I have two different reducers because I didn't know what the temperature was going to be. One needs to be between 70 degrees and 80 degrees, and the other one is 80 degrees and above. I don't know how fast it's going to get warm in this garage. As you can see, it's not really finished. There's no air conditioning system. There is ventilation, but right now it's about 65 degrees out, and my thermometer here is showing that it's about 70 degrees now. So I'm going to try to rub this down with the tack cloth really fast and see if we can get a coat of paint on it. If it does go above 80, then I'm going to have to switch the activator that I use to one that basically dries slower, so that in the higher temperatures it doesn't evaporate too quickly. So anyway, I'm going to rub this down and we'll try to mix up some paint.
Alright, I've mixed up the paint. That is Sublime Green. I've got my new respirator on. It's very tight because I had some leakage down here. I'm getting ready to fill up my gun. Then I'm going to go spray some test patterns over there, and then we'll start spraying the car.
Alright, so I got done painting about 3 or 4 hours ago. Just a bunch of parts hanging up back here. There's green stuff all over my floor. Bunch of the green parts laying out there. On the other side of the car is the hood. So let's take the paper off, the masking. I think it's gonna look pretty cool. So these are new lights. I found them on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, I can't remember. I bought them for 15 bucks a piece, and when I got them, the bezel here was actually red, and if you look back here, you know, on the back side, you can see a little glimpse of red, and see the clip right there is red. I painted them this morning with everything else and put them back on, and I think they look pretty fantastic. Now what I gotta do is take the older style horizontal lights that came on the car, pull all the lights out, put them in the new one. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is install the sail panels. It's this guy right here, and it comes all the way across and goes up to the front. Looks a lot like this, and there's another long skinny one that goes on the front of this and goes up there. They are kind of a pain because they're held in with, hey there guys, they're held in with this many bolts and nuts. So basically here you see all these panels, all these screws. I have temporarily put this in place to hold this trim up, but you pull the trim out, you pull all of these security Torx bolts out, and then you pry out the channel, and then there's 3 Phillips head screws underneath that. It's insane. And then in the back, you have to take off the interior back there, and it's held on by like 5 bolts back there. So Anyway, it takes a while to do. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. So that is a pain in the butt. That's like 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 screws in awkward places to get all that up. Now you have to do a funny little dance where you angle this into there and then push it back, and that's always fun. They're kind of nice. They gave you, I don't know if you can see it here, these little guides. There's one up front too. All right, I'm putting together the other side, and here is one of the things that makes me feel the best about customizing a car. When I put this trim on, it just sort of completes something, and I don't know what it is about it. You put that trim on there, and on Mustangs, it's incredibly easy to put the trim on. You literally just put it on and press it down. And that just does something. Like, it finishes it. It's like putting molding in a bedroom or something. It just completely changes the look of the car. Look at that, it's got fenders. That only took me like 2 hours to get them lined up. There she is. I just finished putting the front end on. It's getting pretty exciting. Just the hood and headlights are left. So I just put on the door panels. It's got some green overspray on it. It's just dust, it'll come off. Basically this is all I'm doing until the headlights come in, and once they come in we will put them on, and I will take it, have it aligned, put some tags on it, and we will drive it. But I want to show you, I was digging around underneath the seat and I found a couple bottles of water, a hose, some kind of solid pure linen air freshener. I don't know if it's ever been opened. It smells like a urinal cake. And a half full can of Axe Anarchy. So there's that. All right, it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since I painted that monster over there, and I still haven't gotten it together. Kids take up most of my time. There's been a death in the family. It seems like the house, we had a water line break underneath the house. All kinds of stuff happens. And projects like this just have to take a back seat. But now I'm back out in the garage. I estimate I have like 2 hours on this thing to go before it's ready to go to the alignment shop and then ready for the street. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the headlights on. Before I did that, I had to come up with a custom hood latch situation, because that aftermarket hood wouldn't shut with a stock hood latch that I actually drove like 60 miles to go get, because no one around here had that. But anyway, it's basically just the standard type hood pin that would normally come up, but I mounted it upside down, and then built a bracket for that to actually pop down through, and then you put a little pin through. It's pretty cool. But anyway, we're gonna go here, we're gonna put in the headlights, and it'll have some eyeballs, and then I think that's really gonna complete the look of the car. So we're looking underneath the latch, and as you can see, this pin right here comes out and allows the hood to come up. So that's basically just an upside down mounted hood pin, and it goes down through this hole on this custom bracket that I made. It just goes right down through there. There's the bottom of it. And you put in your pin, and hood can't go up. All right, so here are the aftermarket headlamps I got. I did not want to go with the projector style because I didn't want to make it look super ricey. These are actually pretty cool. They were supposed to be tinted, and they're not. The actual listing says they were tinted and piano black. I can kind of see the piano black, but you know, for like 60 bucks, I'm not going to complain. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these in the front of this guy, and I think we'll have a complete car. Oh, I need to tighten that bolt up. These do not come with the headlights. Make sure you have these. These are the turn signals, and I had to drive like 20 miles to go buy one of these locally. They're like $5 on eBay, but I didn't want to wait for shipping. And there she is. Project's almost done. I have this lower chin spoiler that goes down there that I still need to install, but I'm gonna need an extra hand, so I have to wait for another day until I can get someone to help me, and then she's ready to roll. There's something amazing about driving a car that you've brought back from the dead with your own two hands. A car that probably should have been taken to the scrapyard, but you looked at it and you saw the potential there, and you did the work and you got it back on the road. There's nothing more car guy or car culture than that. It's seeing the potential in a twisted, multicolored piece of junk that most people would have just left on the side of the road. This car is like a rocket, right? If you hold down the clutch, you floor the gas, you let off the clutch, you hit the brake, you do a smoky burnout, and it's going rah, rah, rah. And then when it comes out of that burnout, the thing just shoots off like a rocket. It's amazing. It's not for everyone. And plus it's a Mustang, right? Mustangs have a bad reputation, right? Especially when you're driving a lime green Mustang, right? People like, it's like people are holding you to two different standards. Like, what is this thing that is blinding me driving down the road, and who would drive that? Well, I got news for you. I would drive it, and I think it's awesome. You can do something like this. You don't need a garage. You saw the half of what I did was outside in the driveway. There's no excuse for you not to drive your dream car, and if you can't afford your dream car, buy something that inspires you. I mean, I paid $1,000 for this car, which many will say was way too much. For $1,000, and I have less than $300 more in this car. This thing does amazing burnouts and sounds like a monster. I couldn't be more stoked about how this turned out. I'm super happy. You see, I'm kind of grinning. You should have seen me when I was doing the burnouts earlier, man. I could not stop smiling. And anyway, it's been a great project. I'm glad you guys watched. You know, smash the subscribe button if you would. It'll help me out, get a following, and then it'll get my work out to more people. Share me with your friends. Thank you guys for coming along. Wait till you see what we have next. It's going to be awesome. Peace out. This is our best plan ever. a dream.